welcome to my channel. This is an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so, and don't forget to click the little bell so that you'll get notified of future videos. Please feel free to share my videos on your social media, and I hope you enjoy the video which follows. Well, as the title said, I'm going to make a Christmas cake. In my family, it was just called boiled cake. Some homes, I think, still call it war cake. But the version that I'm making has been greatly changed since the war. It got its name from, I'm not certain if it was the First World War or the Second World War, but anyway, during rationing, this particular cake could be made because it didn't have too many of the items in it that were rationed. However, as I say, this one has been greatly changed. This is out of my mother's little handwritten cookbook. There's a picture of the page there. Mom was an old-time baker in that she probably learned most of her baking skills from her mother when she was a child, and it would have been cooked back then in a wood stove. So the oven of a wood stove, you couldn't dial up the temperature that you wanted. So these notes don't give a lot of the things that a classic recipe would give today. And as I said, she changed and added a lot of things to it over the years, so it's more like a traditional fruit cake now. Although it still has the aspect where you boil the beginning of it, which you don't do with most traditional fruitcake recipes, none of them that I'm aware of. But first off, these are the ingredients that are going to get boiled, and Mom's instructions say a package of seedless raisins, and I can see that package in my mind. I'm quite sure that was a pound of seedless raisins, and that's what I've weighed out there, is a pound of seedless raisins. 2 heaping tablespoons of lard, and I have changed that to vegetable shortening, and I'm quite sure in my mother's latter years of cooking that it would have been vegetable shortening. She don't think had lard in the house since I was a child. A teaspoon of cloves, ground cloves, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 2 teaspoons of salt, and those are all together in that little dish, and 2 cups of sugar. You put this in a saucepan along with 2 cups of boiling water, and you boil it for 5 minutes. So let's go over to the stove and get that started. Now, I've added all the dry ingredients to the saucepan. Just tried to pick up a tea kettle with a very hot handle on it. Get an oven mitt here, I guess would be helpful. Now I'm going to add 2 cups of boiling water. Turn on the gas. I'll bring you back when that has come to the boil and the shortening has melted. It smells good already. Smells even better now that it's boiling, and you let it boil for 5 minutes. So I'll see you back when we're ready to add the other ingredients after it's had its 5 minutes of boiling. Now, the smell of the spices is wonderful, and that boiling it for 5 minutes really softened up the raisins and plumped them up a lot. Now you add 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, which you dissolve in a little hot water, boiling hot water it suggests. Give that a stir to make sure it's all incorporated. A wonderful reaction there. Now, the flour is 3 cups of just all-purpose white flour. And that pretty much would have been the original boil cake recipe. But here's where it gets doctored up into more like a fruit cake. A very quick, easy to make fruit cake, and I just love the thing. People that don't like the traditional heavy fruit cake might care for this more. It's much lighter. Okay, that's pretty well incorporated. Still boiling hot. A cup, and these are just my own guesses at the amount. Mom didn't say in her recipe, it just says to add fruit and nuts. So that's a cup of mixed peel and fruit, candied mixed peel and fruit. I've been meaning to say that at the end of most of this type of a video, cooking video, I cut and taste something. Well, this is a fruit cake, so you don't do that. It gets wrapped tightly after it cools in plastic wrap, and probably put that inside of a plastic bag. I don't think I have a tin large enough that will hold it. And then it gets aged for several weeks before you cut it, and that improves the texture and the flavor. Now, Mom would have added, I'm sure, walnuts. It was her go-to nuts for almost anything. I'm adding slivered almonds, a cup of those as well. And that is the entire ingredients, other than I have some larger candied fruit that I'm going to put on top as soon as I get it in the pan here and ready to go in the oven. Now, Mom does not mention a temperature. As I said before, she, in her latter years, or well, a long time, 25, 30 years more before she passed away, she cooked with an electric range and would have set a specific temperature. But this is a fruit cake with a lot of sugar and fruit and that sort of thing, so you do not want a hot oven, just a moderate oven. I'm going to go with 300 degrees, and I will put a sheet of aluminum foil, not tight over the top, but just resting over the top to prevent the fruit and raisins and whatever that are on top from burning. And the only way to tell when it's done is to keep testing it. After an hour or so, I'll take a cake tester and keep testing it until the cake tester comes out clean, and then it is done. But right now I'm going to prepare the pans, and I'll bring you back and show you what I do before it goes in the oven. Well, I've prepared the pan by buttering it and flouring it, and I know this is a dark-sided cake when it comes out, and the flour will probably show, but I do not want it to stick. It's also a very sticky batter. I'd rather have a little flour on the side than half the batter stuck in the cake pan. It's cooled down quite a bit, but it's still very warm. Just licked off a finger there. It tastes good. That will do for that one. The rest of it is going to go in a springform pan. Just a small one. I think that's 7 inches or maybe 6 inches. Two different thicknesses, so this particular one will probably come out of the oven before the larger one does. I guess that's enough. I'll get to lick the bowl with what's left. I'm also going to put something under the springform pan. There isn't enough fat in this, like butter or anything. It's just that 2 tablespoons of lard, which I used shortening. But don't take any chances. Springform pans are notorious for leaking in the oven. And just putting a little fruit on top, stuck down in the... These are glacé cherries, candied cherries. They're not fresh maraschino cherries or anything. It makes a nice decoration when it comes out. And this is candied pineapple, which I love. I could sit down and eat the whole package of that. Obviously need one more cherry for the middle. And I'll do the same thing with the other loaf pan, and they go in the oven. So I'll show you what they look like when they come out of the oven. Might as well show you the finished job here, I guess. Not that it's all that fancy, but they're now ready to go in the oven. The oven just came up to 300 degrees. And I've put an oven liner thing in there. It was a Christmas gift to me years ago, and I never did get around to using it, but today I'm going to use it. Anybody ever seen that sort of thing before or not? I'll show you what it looks like in the oven. It's just a sheet of something that, whatever it is, it isn't bothered by heat. And you can put it on your oven rack and it will catch spills, as it shows here. So let's go put this in the oven. My oven is a gas oven. You can see the flame lit up down below there. And on the second shelf down, that's my pizza stone. Stuff is quite slippery, slides around on it. And I'm just resting the tin foil over the top, hopefully to prevent the top from scorching. So I'll bring you back in an hour and a half whenever these come out of the oven. I'm going to start testing these, one in the springform pan after, well, probably not much, after a half hour, just to see what things are like. But I think the other one, the larger one, will be in there for well over an hour at 300 degrees. Well, that one was in the oven for about an hour and a half, exactly, I guess, an hour and a half. And it's now testing so that it is done through to the center. The other deeper cake, I suspect, will be in for at least another half hour, maybe longer. And I will show you both of them once they're out of the pans. Well, this has been out for 15 minutes and has cooled enough that it's coming away from the sides. I'm going to remove the side anyway. Looks okay. I have a tin. I'll try the cover and see what I think. Yeah, that might fit in that tin, I guess. It will still be wrapped in plastic wrap, but it'll go in that cake tin. Must be something that something came in years ago, I presume. I still have it anyway. So I won't take it off the base until it's completely cooled, because it's soft at this stage and I'm sure it would fracture into several pieces. And the other one is still in the oven. I'm not going to check it until it's had another 30 minutes in there, and I think it may have to go even longer. It's a lot deeper than this one is. Well, there it is out of the oven. It cooked for 2 hours and 20 minutes. The cake tester finally came out dry. It has risen enough, as you can see, that it filled the pan. Didn't dome up like a bread would or anything, but the baking soda was enough to make it rise up to fill the pan. And I've removed the bottom of the springform pan from that. It wasn't difficult at all. Once it cooled enough to handle, just turned it upside down in my hand and the bottom came right off. I won't remove this from the pan for a few minutes yet until it cools down. I'll bring you back and show them to you when it's out of the pan. It's been out of the oven more than a half hour. It's cooled quite a bit. It's just basically still a little warm, but not anywhere near what you'd call hot. I guess you can handle it without any problem. Get it flipped over without breaking it up. There we are. Well, there are the boiled cakes, or war cakes, whatever you want to call them, made. Obviously there isn't any link for me to attach like I do with some of my cooking videos, but I will type out the recipe and put it below the video here on YouTube. So thank you very much for watching, and maybe you'll make your own boiled cake for Christmas.